Julius Maada Bio, a former military junta leader, is sworn in as the president of Sierra Leone. British residents are nervous as murders are on the rise in London. And how a common household pest is helping scientists build a better robot. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. Residents in the British capital are on edge. For the first time ever, the number of murders over the past 2 months in London is higher than in New York. That is despite tight gun control in Britain. 2 killings Wednesday brought the total number of homicides in London this year to 50. But as Henry Ridgwell reports, police say knife crime is to blame for most of the recent killings fueled by gang wars.
24 hours in London, a 17-year-old girl and a 16-year-old boy shot dead and another teenager stabbed. The killings over the Easter period have shocked Britain.
It's not a bad area. It's very quiet. There's not any trouble around here. This is why I'm very horrified and shocked to come out this morning and find out that one of my residents have deceased.
British police investigated 37 killings in the capital in February and March, compared to 32 homicides in New York City. London's Mayor, Sadiq Khan, blames government budget cuts and falling numbers of police, a criticism echoed by former Metropolitan Police Chief Superintendent Leroy Logan.
These things are symptoms of a system that is breaking. We're at a crisis point and we really need to deal with it. And this is not just policing, it's other services. And we need to understand that the government have really got blood on their hands because they have cut back so much. And they are seeing these body bags mounting and not doing anything with it.
The government strongly rejects claims that budget cuts are to blame. London's police commissioner says many of the killings are linked to youth gangs who use social media to taunt each other into violence. A campaign was launched last month called Knife Free, which aims to use true stories to persuade young people of the dangers of carrying knives.
Young people coming from dysfunctional families, in crime-ridden areas, being excluded from school, being groomed by elders into using a knife or a gun at an early stage, using it as an initiation into a gang.
The murder rate in New York has been falling sharply since the mid-1990s. British lawmakers want London authorities to learn from their American counterparts and take what is described as a public health approach to violent crime.
Most of the Londoners we've spoken to don't appear too concerned for their own personal safety, despite the rising murder rates here in the capital.
I think there's obviously areas that you maybe would tread a little bit more cautiously through, but it's not something that I think about on a day-to-day basis at all.
Despite the spike in killings, the annual homicide rate in London for 2017 was less than half that of New York. Henry Ridgwell for VOA News, London.
West Africa, French and Malian troops killed about 30 Islamist insurgents during a gun battle in a region near the border with Niger, where Islamic State are known to be active. A French army colonel said Thursday that soldiers from France's Burkina Faso and Malian troops were on a reconnaissance mission 90 kilometers south of Menachem on Sunday, when they encountered several dozen Islamist fighters, some on motorcycles. West Africa's Sahel region has seen a rise in violence by militant groups, some with links to Al-Qaeda and Islamic State. Officials in Cameroon are calling on communities along its border with Nigeria to remain vigilant following a deadly raid this week by Boko Haram on a military base. The government says dozens of Boko Haram fighters attacked a military base in Sagme on Monday, killing 5 Cameroonian soldiers and wounding 3 others. According to a government statement, the militants disguised themselves as soldiers and painted their vehicle to march the colors of the multinational Joint Task Force fighting the insurgency to slip into the base. A Cameroonian official says the attack was the first major raid by Boko Haram in the area in several months. Now, in West Africa, the nation of Sierra Leone has a new president. Opposition candidate and former military junta leader Julius Maada Bio has been sworn in as Sierra Leone's new president after winning a very close round of vote. Bio took the oath of office in the capital, Freetown, just before midnight Wednesday, soon after the nation's National Electoral Commission named him the winner of last Saturday's poll.
The dawn of a new era. The people of this great nation have voted for change in a new direction. We are honored and privileged to serve the new government of Sierra Leone.
Well, Bio edged out the ruling All People's Congress candidate Samura Kamara by about 3% of the vote. On the streets of Freetown, Bio's supporters celebrated his victory and what they say he means for the country.
Our President Brigadier Maada Bio has been elected. It's long been waiting. It's long been waiting for Sierra Leonean, and that we believe that it is the only person who can move this country forward.
Well, Maada Bio replaces outgoing President Ernest Bai Koroma, who could not seek re-election due to term limits. Bio is now tasked with rebuilding the impoverished West African nation's economy that was dragged down by the world's deadliest Ebola epidemic and the global slump in commodity prices. Well, I want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our show live on Facebook, so check us out and share our show with your friends. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vince McCory. Now, coming up, the dangers of sleep-deprived driving. Stay with us.
News and notes. This is Living Better.
This helmet structure could change the way brain imaging is done in the future. Magnetoencephalography requires putting the patient's head inside a large scanner, and the patient needs to stay very still. Now, scientists in the UK say they've created simpler helmet sensors, according to the Wellcome Centre's Gareth Barnes.
Firstly, our sensors are right next to the scalp of the subject, so they're individualized for each subject. That means we get much better sensitivity to these magnetic fields. And the second amazing thing is that we can now start to measure subjects as they move or react naturally to stimuli.
An MEG scan, unlike an MRI, can track brain processes in real time, and the new scanner might help researchers understand how cognitive function develops in the young. The scientists say better MEG scanners could also improve understanding of neurodegenerative disorders such as Parkinson's disease and dementia. I'm Martin Seacrest for VOA's Living Better.
Well, it's time now for a health report, and joining us now is Africa 54 health correspondent Lino Mudu with a look at the link between lack of sleep and automobile accidents. Lino.
That's right, Vincent. A new study finds that sleep deficiency is strongly associated with motor vehicle crashes and dependent of an individual's self-reported sleepiness. The study examined the relationship between automobile crashes and two common causes of sleep deficiency: insufficient sleep duration, a duration associated with excessive sleepiness, and obstructive sleep apnea, a chronic sleep disorder in which breathing repeatedly starts and stops during sleep. Severe sleep apnea was associated with a 123% increased risk of a vehicle crash, and mild to moderate sleep apnea was associated with a 13% increased risk of motor vehicle crash. The study used data from the Sleep Heart Health Study, which is supported by the National Heart, Lung and Blood Institute. Now, although cancer is one of the leading causes of death worldwide, the World Health Organization reports that colorectal cancer is one of the cancers that can actually be prevented. VOA's Cara Pearson has more on that and the story of a woman who beat colon cancer.
The colon is a long muscular tube that's also known as the large intestine. Cancer of the colon is linked to diet, genetic predisposition, and age. In the U.S., 1 in 23 people will be told they have colon cancer. Michelle Alexander got her diagnosis at age 53.
How much longer do I have? My daughter's 24. How much longer will I be with her? Those kind of thoughts go through your head.
The majority of the colon cancer develop from a benign polyp, and that takes about 10, 15 years. So if you find the polyp and remove them, then you won't have colon cancer. So it's very important to have a screening to prevent cancer.
As scary as her diagnosis was, Alexander's passion for auto racing helped her get through it.
This is my car wall here.
Carl Edwards is Alexander's favorite driver, and she had tickets to a race where he was competing. Her determination to get there only increased when she got this phone call.
Hello, I was calling for Michelle.
And I said, I know there's an auction, or I can bid to ride in the truck with you for driver intros. And it is my goal to win that auction. And he said, don't bid. You get here, you're riding with me.
6 weeks after surgery, Alexander got her ride.
Oh, it was just joy. When I raced with my life and crossed the finish line, the winner.
She wanted to get better. She had this strong will to get better. And I think that it's very important.
Doctors say you can help prevent colon cancer if you eat plenty of greens, whole grains, and vegetables high in fiber like beans. Regular exercise also helps. And if you smoke, stop. More importantly, get a regular screening starting at age 50 or sooner if you have a family history. If colon cancer is diagnosed at an early stage, the World Health Organization says 90% of patients survive at least 5 years, compared to no more than 8% of those diagnosed at an advanced stage. 2 years after her surgery, Alexander is still cancer-free. Her determination to beat it even inspired her hero. Carol Pearson, VOA News.
Get this, healthcare in America does not have to take place in a doctor's office or clinic. There are some 2,000 mobile health clinics across the country delivering medical, dental, prenatal, and pediatric care, preventing screenings, and more. These vans go where the patients are: libraries, a school, supermarket, parking lots, especially in low-income communities. VOA's Faith Lapidus has more.
Like most pediatricians, Sangamitra Misra will tell you tears are part of the job. These families are lined up to see a doctor in the parking lot of an elementary school near downtown Houston.
The concept of the mobile clinic has really expanded over the last 5 or 10 years. Everyone is thinking of how can we actually get to the families that need help, and it just makes sense.
Many parents are bringing their kids for a regular checkup. For some schools in the district, 30 to 40% of students are behind on their shots.
We have very open arms, and we're ready to really help the families that need our services.
This mobile health clinic is headed out to that particular neighborhood very much by design.
I'm a health economist, so I like to optimize resources.
With support from the National Science Foundation, Rigoberto Delgado wants to help providers like Texas Children's Hospital target their limited resources where they can do the most good.
Dr. Misra is busy concentrating on her patients. She has no time to look at whether she's going to the right places or not. We're trying to complement her services by providing the basis for an objective deployment of our resources.
His team at the University of Texas Health Science Center, Houston, is doing that by looking at public health data and using geospatial mapping science and predictive analytics to forecast areas of highest risk for disease outbreaks. On this map, the red dots show where the fleet of mobile health clinics routinely visits.
But you can see there's pockets here where it needs to cover more. Not that they're doing a bad job, but they might need more resources or deployed their resources in a different manner.
Okay, come. Dr. Misra says she welcomes a more numbers-based approach to deciding locations.
Some days we show up, there's 75 children. Some days we show up, there's 5. And so I think this would normalize it a little bit if we knew that there was a certain number of children that really we knew needed our services.
With more demographic data, the Houston team says this approach could be helpful in underserved communities around the world. I'm Faith Lapidus, VOA News.
And that's our health report for today. To stay in touch, find me on Twitter at @LenorModou. Vincent, back to you.
Well, Lino, thank you very much. Now be sure to watch Lino Modou's health reports every Tuesday and Thursday right here on Africa 54. Well, we started off with the election of Julius Maada Bio of Sierra Leone as the new president of that country. And now, to get some more insight on the politics of Sierra Leone, I'm joined by Bernadette Camara. She's an analyst and a native of Sierra Leone. Ms. Camara, welcome back to Africa 54.
Thank you for having me.
So first, what do you make of the very quick swearing in of Mr. Bio, which most people thought it could take at least a day or two?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised as well, but I think because of the recounting and people have been waiting for so long, they had to do something real quick so that to abate any kind of riot or any other misunderstandings, because for a while there are people from both sides claiming victory and dancing on the street, and I think it was the best thing to do so that people will know who is the leader and maybe start the healing process.
Yes. Now, the other candidate was the ruling party's candidate, Mr. Camara, has been around for a while. Mr. Maada Bio had, in the past actually, also run the military government there. What are the challenges he faces now as he takes the oath of office?
Well, I think right now his first priority should be to unite the country, because there has been a lot of dissatisfaction from even the leaders that were the presidential candidates, and the people were, for one reason or the other, were disgruntled because they wanted to see different changes in the country. And now that he's in power, he has to try to, like I told you before, form a coalition, a strong coalition of people that can help him rule the country.
Because the tight kind of numbers you've seen, the race has been tight all through. Does that signal that perhaps the country is divided almost in half in the way they see these different political parties?
Yes, I think so, and I believe it's because most of the time the incumbent, everything that is going on is going to be, pushed to them. But to tell you the truth, a lot of people had wanted to see this change for a long time. Yeah. And there were a lot of parties that were coming in, preaching this change. But in order for you to see the change, you have to be willing to change as well. That's why I thought in the beginning the party is going to decide this election. It's either going to be the SLPP or the APC party. And for him, my hope is because he has the military experience that he's going to be able to bring some kind of law and order, because for so long, it's lacking.
So there were about 3 things that were big issues here. There's the question of the economy, which has been doing really badly because of global forces, but also what the Ebola epidemic did to the country. And of course, there's the issue of peace and security. What does he have that is unique to him, you think, for those who voted for him, would make him the best person to tackle these issues, as opposed to the ruling party's candidate?
Well, the ruling party, I think one of the major problems they had was that people thought they did not handle the Ebola crisis well. And then we had the mudslides and things of those nature. And I think that the other problem is because there are laws in the country that were not enforced. For example, in terms of the building, so people could build just anywhere. So when the mudslide came, there were a lot of victims, and we did not have emergency protocol in the country, so a lot of people suffered. So I think what is unique with Maada Bio will be that he had a clean slate, at least in those terms, to make sure that he puts structures in place to make sure that this does not repeat itself.
And in terms of the expectations of the people of Sierra Leone, we saw last time, you know, they hoped highly on the party that is now out of power. Do you think they might be expecting just rather too much, given the reality of the country, the realities that are in the country today?
I think actually a lot of people are scared. Believe it or not, they're scared because he is new. Yes, he's been a president before, but just for a few months. But the good thing is, at that time, even though he was much younger, we saw that when it was time for him to hand back the power, to give back the power to the democratic leader at the time, he did it well. So we're hoping that the integrity that he learned from the military training and all those other things will help him. But I think that Mada Bio has to form this coalition and bring different experts. Because yes, he's a military guy, but he has to be a little bit diplomatic in the way he deals with the rest of the people.
Yeah, I think perhaps he might make a new kind of turn a new page in Sierra Leonean politics looking forward. We do appreciate very much your insights.
No problem.
Ms. Kamara.
It was nice.
Well, that's Benedict Kamara, who's an analyst. She's also a native of Sierra Leone. Staying there now, for more than 20 years, the Takugama Chimpanzee Sanctuary in Sierra Leone has taken in chimpanzees orphaned and abused by the illegal pet trade. But the challenges don't stop there for this endangered species. Jason Pattinkin visited the sanctuary near Freetown.
These chimpanzees arrived hungry, wounded, and traumatized, victims of illegal trafficking, but now they flourish. Since 1995, 77 chimpanzees have found refuge at the Takugama Chimpanzee Sanctuary in a national park near Freetown.
Basically, this is a rehabilitation program of chimpanzees that were being kept as pets in various homes. All the chimps we have here, 99% are coming from people's homes.
Chimpanzee trafficking is a brutal business which devastates wild ape populations.
One chimpanzee pet at home means several other chimpanzees would have been killed in the process. Because in the capture of chimpanzee, young chimpanzee from the forest, you must first interfere with the mother by shooting the mother. You end up killing the mother first, the father, the uncles.
The sanctuary is funded by the European Union, several Western zoos, and pro-environmental groups. Once in Takugama, chimps are put on a healthy diet, vaccinated, and are socialized with other chimps. But chimps are meant to live in the forest. Over time, the rescued apes are introduced into a fenced-in, semi-wild habitat. But these chimps will likely never return fully to the wild.
It's like they have been used to staying with people. It's possible that even if after 20 years or 30 years you send them back to the jungle without any controlled area, they will find their way back into people's homes.
Their wild cousins face another threat. Land has been cleared at such a rate that in 2010, the government was reporting just 5% of original forest remained intact.
We have about 5,500 chimpanzees left in the jungle within the country. They are under very serious threat because of habitat destruction. People are indiscriminately destroying the forest. Their forest area is slowly getting to a small portion. So they are actually in a very serious danger.
Within the confines of Takugama, at least, the rescued chimps can live in safety. Jason Patinkin for VOA News, Freetown.
Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54. Crash test cockroaches inspire a wall-climbing robot. We'll be right back.
In Sierra Leone, opposition challenger Julius Maada Bio has won the presidential runoff election with 51.81% of the votes. His opponent, Samura Kamara, vowed to contest the result. In Sudan, 7 women who are said to be members of the jihadist Islamic State group have been brought back home from Libya. Liberian President George Weah begins his 2-day visit to Ivory Coast and meets with the country's President Alassane Ouattara to discuss strengthening bilateral relations. In South Africa, former President Jacob Zuma is set to appear Friday in Durban High Court, where he will face corruption charges. Finally, in Libya, FIFA officials visit Tripoli to assess the possibilities of bringing international soccer games back to the country.
Welcome back to Africa 54, and here's what's trending. These little containers of dried crickets from the company Wicked Crickets are on sale for nearly €5 each. At the testing store in the Wilmersdorf district of the German capital, the crickets are displayed prominently on a shelf directly by the entrance. More than 200 products are sold at the store that had its opening day last month. The products have all been approved for sale by the relevant authorities, but coming from small new companies, they have not yet been able to break into the mass market. The success of a product here means it is closer to reaching the main supermarket shelves, including the crickets. Well, next up, there is a couple of new guys in town, and they are taking Italy by storm. One is a hotel concierge, and the other sells cars. Robbie and Kayuki Pepper are Italy's first dedicated interactive service robots. Robbie not only answers questions, he also entertains clients in this resort hotel near Lake Garda. The robot has been programmed to answer simple questions and is able to give information such as the location of the spa, restaurants, and opening hours. In Lombardy, Kayuki is attracting attention as Italy's first robotic car dealer. It has been programmed to give information on cars, play games, and gather client information so they can be contacted later. In other robot news, most rely on sensors to detect and move around objects in their path, which can take time. But what if they could change direction or climb objects in the blink of an eye? And all thanks to observing the cockroach. Scientists at the University of California, Berkeley, have developed a six-legged robot with a soft exoskeleton, just like a cockroach. It is called Dash and harnesses the momentum of a head-on crash to tip itself upward and climb a wall on its sticky pad toes. It does all this without the need for complex and expensive sensors or taking valuable time to compute its next steps, which could make it well suited to exploring hazardous areas after natural disasters. And that's our show for today. Now be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings to Daybreak Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching from all of us in Washington. Have a good night.